All right, you guys, we're back with my boy Jules, and what we're gonna do here is we're gonna try to keep this area square. We're gonna give him a nice skin fade. I'll be using the boosted up clipper from Gamma, and I'll show you guys the entire process of how we're gonna stack some weight in here to make the blend look really good. We'll take the middle of the top down. He's got a lot of hair here. We're gonna make sure we take the middle down, but we're gonna leave a little bit of weight on the sides, a little more square, and that's gonna style out really nice. So the way we're gonna start this cut off is I'm actually gonna grab a number 3, and we're just gonna remove some of the bulk on the sides before we set our skin line in. So let's go. So I like to trap the comb as I come down and just kind of let the clipper ride right up that. That's gonna help me preserve that weight in that parietal ridge area. Not too worried about the bottom because we're gonna be going all the way down the skin anyway, so. So whenever you're doing this too, you can always pay attention to how people's hair is. Like I can see the back, all this is really thick, but when I go to this side here, you can see that the hair is a little bit thinner. So his left side is gonna be a little thinner than his right side, and with some experience, you'll start to learn what that means. All right, we're gonna put our skin line in. We're gonna use the Instinct trimmer. This has the vector motor, will allow it to speed up when it senses resistance. I'm gonna put it this way, and when I get to the top, I'm gonna start flicking it up and out. Yeah, if you left it off, that'd be great. So I'm gonna go to about the occipital bone. I don't like to try to go all the way around the head. I like to jump from one side to the other. I just feel like I get a little bit more accuracy that way. A lot of times when I used to take the skin line from the middle all the way to the back, I used to have a little bit of trouble getting it to be perfect. So I'd rather just take that extra second to turn them this way, and we'll cut that out. Don't be afraid if this looks a little choppy. That's kind of the idea here. We're not trying to put a perfectly straight line here. We're trying to flick up and out. So it should look a little rough, and that'll make it easier to get out if you choose to do this with a trimmer. All right, the next tool we're gonna use is the Instinct shaver. So what's special about this shaver, and especially as it pertains to this haircut, his hair is super thick, so we wanna make sure that we use a really rugged tool that can actually get this down the skin quickly. A normal electric shaver would definitely struggle to get this down because his hair is just really, it's that thick in the back. So as I get to the top of this line, I'm gonna start coming down with the grain. And I'm gonna just try my best to blend out any line between my trimmer and my shaver. It might not be possible to get it all, but you wanna get as close as you can. And I'll show you a little tool towards the end that we'll use if we're struggling in any of these areas. So once we come around to this side, I'm gonna isolate one of the cutting blades. So we call this phase 1. This is just removal of bulk. Phase 1 just includes setting in our skin line, using our electric shaver, and debulking the hair for the most part. So we're gonna move into phase 2, which is actually some clipper over comb. That'll allow me to stack that weight here, so I'll show you how we'll do it. Now, if I ever see you guys doing clipper over comb with a guard, we know it's amateur hours. We wanna make sure we have no guard on here. We want it closed all the way, and we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna cut everything that sticks out. All right, that's phase 2. Before we go to phase 3, which is cutting the top, I'm gonna actually just remove a tiny bit more bulk off the sides with a 1.5. Not really trying to do any blending here, but when I start my blend, I find that it's just a lot easier to do if it's a little shorter in this area. So I got this fully closed. I'm just flicking up and out. I'm not worried about any lines. I'm not worried about any weight. Just trying to remove some bulk here before I put in that first guideline later. Okay, I just want to shout out Masaki Shears for sending me these shears. These have been amazing. Absolutely love these. I'll put a link to them in the description, and we're gonna really walk through this good so you guys can get a good idea of what's going on. All right, you guys, I'll show you real quick what we're gonna do. Because he wears his hair kind of messy in the front, spiked up a little bit, or mostly with a hat, probably, but we're gonna take the front in with our normal section, and we're gonna decide how much we're gonna take off. My goal here is to square this a bit, so you guys are gonna see how I do that. I'll start with this Mohawk guideline. A lot of times, like, I would confirm with the client if I didn't already know. I've cut his hair quite a bit, so I know. But if I didn't know, I would always confirm with the client, and I would say, hey, I'm thinking about this much. It's always good because it leads to less problems in the end if you didn't cut enough, or if they, if you're not clear about what they want. So, all right, I got this all the way back here, this Mohawk guideline. So we'll come right up to the front. I'm gonna use my comb to keep it square. I'll take some of that hair out of it so I don't have a ton. But you guys can see my guideline is right there. And what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna point cut facing this way on this side. And notice how I'm just going off to the square here. I'm not trying to round the head. I'll decide later what I want to take off there to make it blend good. But all I really want to do here is work this out to the edge in very small sections.
So let him just cut the front of your hair?
Yep.
And then we're done.
That's it, buddy, just right here. Yep. Let me see, Bubba, look at me.
Just look up a little bit, Bob.
So with the way I'm point cutting it, you can actually see, let me show you something. With the way I'm point cutting it this way, you can actually see the hair will start to push this way. I want it to kind of push this way when it ultimately lays and styles. So now we've pretty much handled this entire section all the way back to the left here. If I check it a little bit, I'll see if there's anything funny in there.
You turn into a werewolf back here.
That whole left side's good.
Let me get this out of there.
All the way back. So I have that whole section to go on when I take it over to this side now. So now I'll comb this up. Find my guideline. I got my guide right there. And actually, if I point cut this way, the hair's going to want to go this way. So that would be good if he was going to wear his hair over this way. That's what his hair wants to do. But if I point cut this way, it'll actually go towards the center, which is what I want it to do. Which, if I wanted to do that, I could come this way just so I'm not in the way of the camera.
Remember, wait for that movie to come out. Yeah, don't go wasted.
All right, so I stood here and I pulled this hair back and I cut it this way. So to cross-check it, we're gonna put it this way. So when we do our cross-check, we might see some funny lengths or something like that. It's a good time to just point cut, add texture, do whatever you want. But our goal is to make sure that all our hair doesn't have anything too funny in it. If you did a really good job, your sections will look like mine. And there really won't be a whole lot to fix. All right, towards the very front here, I'm gonna actually direct it out.
That's all I need. Everything else is done.
90 degrees just means straight out from the head where it grows. So like right here, his hair, he has so much hair here that right here, 90 degrees is actually straight out from the head. So like if I put my comb ever like this, if you pick up hair from here and it tips over here, that's over directing. So now the last thing we're gonna do here before we move on to the blend is we're gonna thin it out a little bit. So I got these other Misaki texturizing shears. They actually have some pretty good amount of hair that it will be removed, but his hair is so thick that this will be awesome for when he goes to style it. So I'm just gonna go through here. I'm gonna remove a little bit of this bulk. We're gonna be in business. These are awesome. They really do a good job of removing that bulk. And this is the Kunsonaki. Who knows? But they're good. All right, so just a quick recap. We did our phase 1, that was removing all that bulk. Our phase 2 was clipper over comb, trying to make that build into the top, which actually reduced some of the work that we had to do up here. Phase 3 was cutting the top, which meant that we got it, just the way we want it. So now we just have to take it from where we started to where we're going to. So we need to figure out how to get that blend done. So that's why we call this phase 4. And the way we're gonna do it is we're gonna start with our clipper and we're gonna put it in the open position and we're gonna set in our first guideline. As I get to the top, I'm gonna start flicking up and out. It's a good habit to get into. And the gamma boosted clipper really has a great ergonomic feel. Like this this like thumb indentation just sort of makes this easy. I could also hear a good amount of crunch when I'm cutting, so it kind of lets me know when that section's done. And my goal is to set this about the width of a finger. So that's the plan. We're gonna do that all the way around the head, especially in this step. If you wanna work on one side of the head first, then the other, I think that's gonna take about twice as long most of the time. But if you wanna do that, you can. But especially during this step, I'd much rather set this all the way around the head and make sure that it's good before I move on. The same level of care that you put into your guideline the first time, you should put the level of care into this guideline, because the rest of your haircut is gonna be based on it. So you wanna have a good foundation so you can make sure you're coming from the same spot on both sides. And that makes me have to bring this side up just a touch with my open taper step. All right, that's what you should see. This is a pretty good checkpoint. There's a couple of different directions you could go from here to get your blend done, but if you can get to this spot right here, I think most of you can with some practice, then you're gonna be able to do a pretty good blend. So now what I'm gonna do is I like to sandwich my half guard between my 1.5. So these two guards are pretty much the majority of what I'll use from this point forward until I remove a guard. I'm not worried about the bottom line. I could easily remove that. These blades are set nice and tight. So we're gonna start working on that top, making sure we stack that weight. And I'm gonna start this with the 1.5, and I'm gonna go 2 clicks open. 1, 2. So we're gonna go ahead and we're just gonna flick up and out. And pay attention to the grain patterns. If they grow this way, then that's the way we wanna flick. We wanna flick against the grain. Now, one of the things we've been talking about the last month was cutting hair a little more intuitively. And what that kind of means is you're gonna let your eyes guide you on what the hair needs. So right now I could tell that 2 clicks open, it really wasn't getting me as close as I wanted to see it. So I knew that I needed to go a little bit shorter, so I quickly closed that lever. I'm gonna run this step just across the back and the sides. This is kind of a debulking step, but hopefully I'll be able to get it to blend in pretty good with that half guard, and I won't have a lot of work for myself. On this side, I'll open it back up, because like I told you in the very beginning, we could literally see that this side is nowhere near as thick. So that means that this blend on this side is probably gonna come out pretty easy, but it also means that I can't be going as deep as I do on the thicker side. I don't have as much hair to work with on this side, so you'll find that this blend will come out correctly a little quicker. The other side is gonna cause me a little bit more work. But as long as you're aware of this and you become aware of this when you're removing that bulk for the first time, that's why I don't start my blend when the hair is super long there. That's why I wanted to take that first initial step to just bring that down a little bit. So this is what you should see right here. This guideline has gotten a little bit fainter. Next thing we're gonna do is remove our open taper line. We're not too worried about the bottom line just yet, and we're gonna do that with our half guard that we talked about. So you'll notice this is always a 2-click situation. So the half guard will go 2 clicks, 1, 2. Close it all the way, go back 2 clicks, 1, 2. So once you've done that, you're actually hitting the length that the half guard is capable of hitting. The half guard will actually cut closer than an open taper in the closed position, and it will cut longer than a number 1 if it's fully open. So 2 clicks just makes a lot of sense to start flicking after it and see what it does. But again, we're gonna cut hair intuitively, and we're gonna use our eyes. So if we decide that, hey, this isn't cutting close enough or this is cutting too much, we'll move our lever up or down. But as of right now, I'm pretty happy with what it's doing. The first couple of swipes are looking pretty good. And we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna open it now and start to kind of isolate one of the corners as we blend this out. When you learn how to use the half guard the right way, you'll cut hair so much faster. And I honestly think the quality will go up as you do it. Listening for the blade to cut. Moving your lever accordingly, isolating one corner or the other. A lot of times you guys probably think that I have the whole blade down. I do not. I'm actually just using I'm just using the right corner as I flick up and out at this point. All right, let's go ahead. Let's remove that bottom line. We're gonna do that by putting the clipper in the fully closed position. And we're gonna start to just isolate one of the corners or the other, and we're gonna flick up. That same little movement that you guys been seeing for pretty much every blending step. The main difference here, I'm just using the corner of the blade. I'm not using the entire blade. And I just want to kind of chip away at that line, and you can hear the clipper. You can hear when it stops cutting. And I haven't moved my lever yet. One of the reasons why I like to come from the bottom, though, is so many times much of the section will actually come together without any extra work. So right there, that was all closed the entire time, and there's only a little bit of residual there in some of them spots. So we'll go ahead and we'll open our blade up some, and this is where we go back to cutting intuitively. Open your blade up, test it, open it, close it, do what you got to do, and just let your eyes kind of guide you where you need to go. You'll see little dark spots, and just take them one at a time. You can experiment with laying more of the blade down or less of the blade. You can really hear when it cuts. And then remember in the beginning when I said I'd show you a step that might help us blend this area, that step is right here. That's the Uno 2.0 single foil electric shaver, and we're just gonna use like a corner of it, and we're gonna flick up into there, and we'll break up any part of that remaining area that's not blending out too great for us, which that seems to have fixed it pretty well right there for now. You can come down with the grain, tap into it. Single foil shavers are a super useful tool. If you don't have one, I really wouldn't want to cut hair without one, especially in a circumstance like this where, you know, his hair is going to throw me a couple of curveballs. I knew that this side was going to give me a little bit more trouble than the other side, but as you guys could see, it came out quite nicely. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to try to see if we can't get that top just a little bit more blended out. I put a number 2 on here, and that should really come off nicely with the 1.5 guard that we did. I'll return to some clipper over comb here. So I try to keep that square, but also dial this in at the same time. The back, he's got a couple of colics. We're gonna knock those down. You notice how I switched the comb around a couple of different ways. That's just because of the way his colic is. I always want to try to pick it up against the grain. So if that means I can go this way or this way, whatever I got to do to get it to be in that comb so I can cut it. We'll grab our texturizing shears. We're going to see if we can get some of these dark spots out. It's always a good idea to know when you can kind of switch tools, switch directions. I'm just letting my eyes guide me. I don't want to get too, too deep in the clipper that I can't get this out or that I can't make this look nice. So we want to make sure that we know when it's time to pull away from a guard, pull away from a step, take a break, do the other side, do something. A lot of times you guys will start working on a spot and you'll keep going until you drive yourself nuts and you're starting to cut things that don't need to be cut. If that's starting to happen to you, if you're like really struggling with a spot, just move to the other side for a little bit. It's kind of funny how sometimes it'll like reset your brain and you'll go back to the side that you were struggling on and you'll fix it in like 2 seconds. So we'll go 2 clicks and we're gonna work on that open taper guideline again. Really trying to be light with my wrist, with my movement, with my hand. It's almost like I'm holding it very loose. And this clipper has some really good places to grip it for just that. reason. I can kind of feel like right where my thumb needs to be, right where my bottom hand needs to be, as I can just like softly kind of ease my way into that section. If you're putting a bunch of pressure in this section, it's just so easy to make a mistake. I'm letting that noise kind of guide me. I'm gonna go fully close. And again, with that nice light movement, flicking. Think of like a pencil, like you're trying to erase. You're using your eraser. Think of your eraser as the corner of the blade. You don't need to remove it from the head every time. You can just kind of work it back and forth, just like you would. We'll open it a little bit. We'll repeat the process. Now, if you don't hear it cutting, you know you're done with that section. But if you hear too much cutting, you know you need to open it. Now, say you get here, your clippers are not zero gapped and you can't get that very bottom line out. Another little trick, I learned this from Jesse Elite, is he would push down on the skin, kind of almost fold it over the clipper blade. And man, these blends that he does will come out so clean. He actually does this with pretty much every step when he cuts. And it's a really efficient way of doing it. I'm gonna try Jesse's little technique right there because I just don't feel like these clippers are set close enough to remove that little bit there. I'm gonna jump over to my 360 Jeezys, which I actually have gapped a little bit closer. That was just what the doctor ordered. That thing got that line out perfect. That's why it's so important to have 2, maybe 3 different machines. You set them up a little different. One of my clippers I usually zero gap really tight, and that would be my Jeezys in my case right now. And then one of my clippers I set back a little bit, and that would be my boosted up rather. So, you know, it allows me to do things like this where I can hit every single length. And then the other beautiful thing about it was if you put a guard on your boosted up clipper and it didn't cut, well, if you got your zero gap clipper, when you put that guard on there, it's probably going to cut. So it just gives you a couple more options. I do the same thing with my trimmers. One of my trimmers is set really close and one of them set a little further back. We'll go through and we'll do like some final details here with this number 1. We'll start with it open. Might as well keep it on the Jeezy so I can cut a little closer if I needed to. Some of you guys always ask me like, oh, what's the perfect clipper that I can do everything with? Like, I don't think there's any such thing. As you guys can see, if I only had the boosted, I could have got this done. I could have did all that, but it would have just taken longer. And I'd much rather spend the money on a better tool, have an extra tool, and set them up 2 different ways. I mean, I just don't see any other way that a clipper could do literally every single thing you want it to do. Some of them are a little better at removing bulk, like this one. Some of them, like the boosted, run a little bit slower, might be a little bit easier and more forgiving to fade with. So all of them have a place. The motors have a place. And if you're considering buying one of these tools that you guys see in this video, you guys will see. So if you guys are considering buying anything that you see in this video, of course, you guys could use the code Eddie with Stylecraft or Gamma. And one little recommendation I would give you is, like, everybody's got like a speed that they can work at, you know, like you'll notice that some people are a little faster than others. Some people move their hand a little more than others. Stylecraft and Gamma has a lot of different motor types that might suit you. So you might want to experiment around with that. Just an easy recommendation would be like, hey, if you're at a spot in your blend and you're getting towards the end of your blend and you're like, man, I'm still struggling. A great tool to pick up there would be like an Ergo or a Rogue, something that's really forgiving. If you're towards the beginning of your haircut and you got a lot of bulk to remove, something with an instinct motor like this 360 GZ or the actual Instincts, or, you know, something along those lines with more torque. If you find yourself just wanting something that's really middle of the road, great for just about everything, Sabre clipper, excellent clipper, can do just about everything you want it to do. This one here is definitely one of my personal favorites. Probably use this more than any other clipper in my arsenal. Just something about its speed and my speed, we just mesh well together. I've done a lot of good work with this clipper. Had it sitting on the charger, which I don't really charge it all that often. Normally, I could cut a whole day and it doesn't die because I'm using a couple clippers. Normal day for me now is cutting maybe like 10 people, maybe 12. There was a time where a normal day was cutting like 30 to 38, but I'm glad those days are gone. All right, let's edge them up, which is phase 5. We're gonna line them up a little bit. And then phase 6 is just the final details. Kenny's always turning my blow dryer down because you don't know where the cool button is. But to do this, you want to get this blow dryer as hot as possible. So with the XL, this is one of the hottest blow dryers. This one's taken a beating. It's been around for years. But we want to make sure we get this as hot as possible, and we're going to manage it with the cool button. So many barbers don't really know how easy this could be, but especially in his case, you know, I want to get this hair up and off of his head some. I'm gonna get it the hottest he could take it. I'm gonna keep it moving so I don't burn him. And then once I got it completely dry, I'm gonna hold the cool button.
And that is what is easy.
That's really the biggest secret here to getting this up and out of my way so that I can do my edge up good. Let's say you cut a colic too short. See, my man? Let's say you cut a colic too short. I'm like an old man. An old barber trick you can use is wet it, hit it with the blow dryer on the hottest heat you can get, and hold the cool button down once it's dry, and it'll set that colic back down. Of course, when he styles it, it's gonna stick right back up because they don't know how to do that, but it'll get you out of a jam sometimes. So you can see we got some of these hairs that are sticking out here. We'll address those later. In the phase 6, I'm gonna start to bring my entire style together. We're just gonna clean them up a little bit. We'll start right here in the center. Sound good, bro? I'll just kind of clean it a little bit and not get too crazy like normal. Trimmers that I find myself using an awful lot. I absolutely love these Rebel. You guys can see the wear and tear on these. This has been around for years. I've changed blades a few times, but man, I don't know if it gets much better than this, guys. I mean, I just love to line up with these because they're super sharp. So one thing I like to do when I edge up is I like to anchor. So I'm gonna anchor with my fingertips over here, and I'm gonna set my blade down, and I'm gonna start to kind of slide it. I'm gonna do the same thing here. If you notice, I'm anchoring with my middle finger here, and I got my hand on the top of his head. The hand on the top of the head is cool because it kind of lets you know if the client's gonna move, like you can kind of anticipate if you need to pull away real quick, especially with like a kid or something like that. What's up, Chad?
Good morning, sir. How are you?
Very good, bro. Already getting this content, you know what I mean?
Oh, here, you filming?
Fuck yeah.
You live?
No, we ain't live, but we out here making it, you know.
Okay.
Scratching, hustling, trying to make a buck, you know. Right here on this side, I'm gonna start right at the vertical bar. Try to get myself something square looking. You need a pretty sharp trimmer to do something like that. And an easier way to honestly do this, like if you're dealing with like long hair, longer hair, like right here, I don't know why so many barbers forget that they have scissors, but scissors really do a good job of squaring off this corner, and it's really easy. So I can get that corner nice and square, give them the appearance of a pretty straight edge up without having to dig too deep. No, I think so.
You know, give that to me, Mike.
When you run a fan day in and day out for what you do. We got that nice and square there. Really like what I'm seeing. So now that we got his edge up done, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna finish out the final details of the haircut. The first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab my scissors. I'm gonna do a little scissor over comb here. And I'm gonna just kind of cut anything that's sticking out, sticking funny. I want to keep everything fairly square. I'm not trying to round the head too much, but at the same time, I don't want anything sticking out that's going to cause me issues when I style it. One of the other things too, that I think a lot of barbers could learn from cosmetologists is you always need to style the hair before it leaves. You want to make sure that you're not missing anything. And I would say like almost 90% of the time when I style the hair before I leave, I make sure that I make a couple other little final adjustments. And I can't even tell you how many times a client might even surprise you with how they're styling it now. They might be like, no, I'm not doing that anymore. I started wearing it to the side. And sometimes you don't even think to ask because you've been cutting their hair so long.
I'm just kidding, I started it. He actually fixed it.
Time to grab your zero gapped clippers and go through and see if there's anything you feel like you could clean up. But at the same time, like, you can see the light at the end of the tunnel here. This is really when a lot of barbers make a big mistake, because they're kind of rushing. They see their other clients are starting to come in, all that other stuff. Sometimes you got to tell yourself, you know, you got to just make sure that you pace yourself. The last thing you want to do is create like another, you know, issue that you got to fight through to make it, you know, the way you want it when you're this close. So take an extra second, go through each little spot. It'll take you less time if you do that than if you try to rush it. At the end of the day, guys, your name is on every haircut as it's walking around. And, you know, people are going to see his haircut. They're going to say, hey, where'd you get your haircut? And if it's bad, they're going to see his haircut. They're going to say, hey, where'd you get the haircut? And then they're going to say, I ain't going there. I'd rather jump off a bridge than go over there and get one of those. That's rich coming from you, bro.
The hair's not about you. Over there, looking like
Saying the same thing.
Yeah, good luck. He's like, you over there looking all sexy. I can't even say nothing against you, dog.
oh, sexy.
Oh, no, I'm definitely in conversation in my head.
All right, y'all, I'm gonna put a little paste from 1821 in here.
I'm on channel 36.
Style it up, and let's see what we wind up with. After we did the details, we did little enhancements.
Dad, you look younger than me.
Baby, you look like a little bitch.
Sonny, you look like a big bitch.
Kennedy get one too.
That's the cut. I hope you like it. Subscribe if you're not already. Over 1,000 videos to help you learn any of the tools you guys see in this video. You can purchase with the links down below. Use the code Eddie for anything Stylecraft or Gamma, and anything outside of that, you guys could always hit up my boys at Fort Worth Barber Supply and use the code Eddie10. Catch you guys in the next video. I'm out of here. Peace.